You are the only one awake. The rest of the clan lies curled in their skins, children tangled with mothers, hunters with arms slung over dogs, breath misting upward into the thatch of the cave roof like the last smoke of a dying fire. But you sit cross-legged in the ashes, your fingers stained black with soot and ochre, staring into a fire that no longer burns. It doesn't need to. You see just fine without it now. The wind outside howls over the edge of the stone bluff, dragging with it the long breath of winter. The mammoth hide flaps rustle like dry tongues. Your breath is slower than the others, not because you are calm, because you are elsewhere, to speak with things that do not speak back, and you are not ready, or rather between. This is the work of a shaman, to wait at the threshold, to feel what others refuse to name. You thought you were. You were wrong. The body is still warm. She died during the night, quietly, as old ones do. Her hands were knotted into fists, nails purple with cold, her back arched like a tree frozen mid-wind. She was your grandmother's sister, or perhaps not. The bloodlines don't always matter. What matters is this. She was the last one who heard the voices before you, and now she's gone. The inside still smells of dried blood. It presses your brow like a promise you didn't agree to. Feathers dangle from the temples. A cord of sinew ties it behind your head, tighter than needed. The others bow when you wear it, but not because they respect you. And now they whisper to you. The men want to burn her come morning, that her shadow had been seen near the mammoth bones, that one of the children awoke screaming, pointing toward the fire with a mouthful of someone else's name. Burn her and scatter the ash by the river, so the fish can carry her memory downstream. But you know that's wrong. You know her spirit is still tangled in her bones, in the yellowed teeth, in the way her fingers curl as if still gripping some invisible staff. You try to speak, but the words don't come from your mouth. They come from the skull you wear. You were given the mask 3 days ago, carved from a red deer's skull, jawless, bleached, and brittle, because they are afraid of what looks out through those hollow eyes. You place your hand upon the dead woman's chest. Her skin is cold now, firmer, already shifting. You whisper nonsense. And so are you. You see her face twitch, or maybe it's only your fear. Her fingers twitch, or maybe it's only the weight of your own guilt. Tonight is your first vigil. Not chosen, demanded. The clan chief, a man with a bear's voice and a hunter's pride, said the old woman's soul was lingering. So they laid her body in the sacred hollow. They pressed ochre into your palms, and they left you alone with her, to keep watch, to listen, to bind. You don't know the words. No one taught them. You remember the gesture your grandmother made once, when lightning struck too close, palms down, fingers splayed, breath held. Your grandmother died too soon, and all you remember are the sounds she made when she dreamed. But the bones in your lap begin to hum. But something listens. The shadows deepen. Your breath begins to fog, even though the fire is long dead. Reaches out and presses something into your palm. And then you hear it, from just behind your ear. A voice like wet wood snapping. Who are you to speak for me? You freeze. But you do not run. That much you've learned. The dead hate it when you run. Instead, you close your eyes. You lower your head. You do the same, and the voice hisses, but fades. For now, at dawn, the men return. They take the body. You watch them without speaking. Later, the child who screamed walks past you. She doesn't meet your eye, but she stops. It's a tooth, too old to be hers, too long to be human. She smiles, and you understand. The work has begun. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you think silence means peace. But here, silence is where the spirits speak loudest. It begins with the roots. They boil in the stone pot for hours, until the sourness thickens the air and the children flee the cave entrance, noses wrinkled, whispering about the sickness soup. But this is no sickness. It's the drink of dreamers. The bark was scraped at the foot of a lightning-struck tree. The roots came from beneath a mound where bones were found with no skull. The mushrooms? No one picks them except the old woman who bites her tongue when she walks, and even she doesn't look at them when she hands them over. You were told not to use too much. You do not know how much is too much. No one tells you where the line is until your mind steps across it. The stew is thick and gray when you finally cup your hands and drink. It's bitter, like iron soaked in spit, and it burns behind your eyes. For a moment, nothing changes. The fire still crackles. The painted hands on the cave walls still reach in frozen prayer. But then the air begins to pulse. You feel it, not hear it, a slow rhythmic thrum, as if the mountain itself is breathing. And the fire? It stops flickering. The flames stand straight, tall, as if saluting something behind you. You don't turn around. You know what happens to those who do. The smoke curls upward and then downward, against all sense. It gathers at your feet, your knees, your chest. You can't see the others anymore, only outlines. Their masks blur, faces vanish, limbs fold into the rock. The cave moans. It is not wind. It is not echo. It is memory. And it doesn't belong to you. You crawl closer to the fire, but you're not sure you moved. Maybe the fire came to you. It watches like a patient animal. The light turns the ochre symbols on the wall into dancing silhouettes, bison stampeding, wolves howling, birds with too many wings. You close your eyes. You open them. You are still here. But also not. Voices begin to rise from the coals. Not loud, not words. Just sounds, sighs, bone crackles, humming too deep to be made by anything alive. They ask nothing. They demand nothing. But you understand. You are no longer the one who watches. You are the one being watched. Something brushes your shoulder. Nothing is there. Your breath comes fast, then slow, then gone. You look down, and your chest is still rising. But the air no longer reaches you. It's as if your lungs are full of mud. You cannot cough. You cannot cry. You fall backward, eyes wide, and you drown in smoke. Not water, smoke. It fills your nostrils, crawls into your mouth. The world shrinks to a pinhole, and in that pinhole, you see the old woman who died last week. Her mouth opens. From it spills a string of teeth tied together with sinew. They wrap around your throat like a necklace you can't remove. You try to scream, but all that comes out is your name, said backwards. When you wake, the cave is empty. The fire is gone. Cold ash clings to your hair. You smell urine. Your own. Your mouth tastes of earth and copper. Your tongue is swollen, as if chewed. You try to stand. You fall. You crawl to the cave mouth, dragging your body like a half-born calf, trembling, gagging. Outside, the sky's too bright. The others won't meet your eyes for 3 days. Even the chief bows his head when you pass. The child with the long tooth hides behind her mother's furs. And you? You sit at the edge of the bluff, staring at your fingers, watching them twitch without your will. Sometimes they make patterns in the air. Sometimes, when you're not looking, they draw shapes in the dust. Once you recognized one. It was a symbol from the wall. One you didn't paint. One no one alive remembers painting. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you believe visions are dreams. But in the cave, the dream sees you. It starts with a deer, but not like any deer you've seen. It stands too still. Its eyes do not blink. And though its coat is patchy with winter's end, something in its posture feels rehearsed. You spot it just past the tree line, while foraging for white roots used to stop blood flow. You're alone. Not because you were sent, but because people no longer wish to walk beside you. Not since the cave. Not since you choked on air and spoke in a voice not your own. Now, when you step into the circle of light, mothers clutch children tighter. The chief watches from the corner of his eyes. And the old man who used to tell hunting tales crosses himself with ash when you pass. So they let you wander, let you vanish into the trees. And the deer stands there, watching. You freeze. You know the spirits take forms. You've seen the owl with no face, the fish that bleed black. You've seen a child sing in the voice of a man long buried. But this is wrong in a way that's hard to name. The deer's legs are stiff, its antlers too symmetrical, and its mouth seems to smile. Not open, not twitch, smile. You take a step forward. It does not flee. You take another, still. And then it speaks, not with sound, but movement. It nods once, a slow, deliberate gesture, as if acknowledging you. As if mocking you, you blink, and it's gone. No rustle, no footsteps, no shape, gone. But your body doesn't move. Not yet, because you realize something worse. Your own hand has begun drawing on your arm, not with pigment, with blood. Not a ghost, not a god, but something else. A spirit who walks like a man, but leaves no prints. Who smiles with the faces of those who forgot to bury their dead properly. It was last seen 3 winters ago, just before the river flooded and carried away 2 children. You watch it happen, eyes wide, mind blank. The spiral tightens, then branches, then closes a perfect circle. A thin trickle, running from your fingertip like ink from a broken reed, curls across your skin in a spiral. You wipe it away, but your skin still burns. When you return to the camp, you say nothing. You eat little, sleep less. In dreams, the deer stands at the fire. In dreams, it wears your face. You wake with dirt in your mouth and blood beneath your nails. The clan begins to whisper. They speak of an old spirit, the one who returned. In the grin of the elder's dog, a grin no dog should have. You try to forget. But one night, by the fire, while drawing symbols into the dust, the same spiral appears. Again and again. Your hand moves without will. A child sees it and laughs. And so do the spirits, not aloud, not in words, but in the snapping of twigs behind your head. In the sudden wind that blows out only your flame. You do not laugh. You do not sleep. And you begin to understand what your grandmother meant when she said, "The spirits are not cruel. They are bored. And you are the game. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you think you're the one watching. But out here, it's never your face in the mirror. The snow returns without warning. It is too late in the season for snow, the hunters say, and they whisper it like a curse. The trees were already budding. The streams had begun to run free. Children splashed and laughed. Then, overnight, everything went still again. Frost grew over the sleeping branches like mold, and the river froze not from the surface down, but from the bottom up. Even the birds fell silent. No prints marked the earth, but those of the clan and something else that wandered through camp without touching the ground. No one spoke of it. They only watched you. And you, in turn, watched the snowfall. The old drum, the one with bare hide, stretched over a hollow log, began to hum that night. No one touched it. It sat in the ritual shelter, half covered in ash and old bone beads, a thing of memory and mourning. But the humming grew into a low throb, then a pulse, then a beat, as though someone, somewhere just out of sight, was marking time with a hand too big for skin and a rhythm too old for breath. You lit no fire. You burned no herbs. You said no words. But your feet moved without asking. They took you past the sleeping dogs, past the mound of drying meat, past the elder's tent where a cough had not stopped in 3 days. You walked until the sound of the drum surrounded you, not echoing, but enclosing. As if you had stepped inside it, the world grew smaller and colder. And then you saw the lake. It should not be frozen. Not like this. Not when spring had already kissed its surface only days before. But here it stood black and glassy, gleaming under a sky without stars. The trees did not move. The wind did not breathe. You stepped out onto the ice, slow, unsure, waiting for the sound of cracking beneath you. But there was no sound. No cold, even. Only stillness. And the faintest light beneath your feet. You knelt, pressed your ear to the ice, and you heard a voice. Not loud, not clear, but undeniably a voice. It did not speak words. It made a sound like rope drawn over stone, like breath through broken teeth. It said nothing, but it called. A call you had felt before, but never understood. You placed your palm flat. The ice warmed, then burned. When you pulled back, your hand smoked. You returned at dawn, empty-handed, empty-eyed. They said your lips moved all night, whispering in a tongue not spoken, since the ancestors lived in caves of salt and bone. They said you kept pointing behind you, even when no one stood there. They said a child tried to wake you and bled from the nose without reason for a full day after. You do not remember. Only the drum, still beating, even now, even here. You sit by the fire, and your fingers twitch in time with it. You press your ears, and still you hear it. You see it in the movement of leaves, in the way the birds avoid the sky above you, in the way your own shadow sometimes lags behind. One night, while washing the burn on your hand, you see a face in the water beside yours. Not a spirit, not a man. Something in between. It smiles. And you do not sleep again that night, because you know you did not come back alone. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you think the silence is empty. But here, the silence has teeth, and sometimes it follows you home. It was never meant to be found again. The bone flute was buried long ago, wrapped in foxhide, sealed in clay, placed in the hollow of a tree that had grown crooked by the river. Your grandmother told you once, in one of her better moments, that it was not an instrument, but a key, a thing to open doors between this world and the other. She said it should never be touched when the moon is dark, never played when birds do not sing, and never, ever brought back into the circle of fire. You do not remember digging it up. Your other hand bleeds from a cut you don't recall receiving. Beneath your fingernails is black earth. Your footprints trail behind you, but there is a second set beside them smaller, deeper. They stop where you sit, but they do not begin anywhere. But there it is in your hand, smooth, warm, and humming. You sit by the edge of the trees, where the ground smells of thaw and rot, and watch the flute gleam under moonlight that has no shape. You should bury it again. You don't. Instead, you raise it to your lips. Your fingers tremble. Your teeth ache. You see shadows ripple in the corners of your eyes where there are no shadows to be cast. And then you feel it, that presence. Then blow. The sound is wrong. Not musical. Not even noise. It is a hole in sound. Like biting into a fruit and finding nothing. The air bends. Your ears pop. The trees seem to lean back. Somewhere in the camp, a dog yelps. Then nothing. You lower the flute, but the sound doesn't stop. It lingers, not in the air, but in your bones. Not new, not old, familiar. Something that knows you, something that waits for you, something that is not done. You spin. The tree is behind you. The hollow tree. The one your grandmother marked with ochre and string. The one that bled sap when touched and hissed in summer without wind. You see movement inside it. You want to run. But you don't. Shamans do not run. You step forward, and the air breathes out. Inside the hollow is not wood, not bark, but a tunnel. It stretches impossibly deep. The edges shimmer like ice on fire. You lean in and hear nothing and then everything. Its eyes are too wide, lips cracked open in a grin that does not reach the skin. It is not breathing, your mother's cry. The first mammoth kill. Your name, said the way your ancestors said it, long before your mouth learned shame. And then another sound, a laugh. But it is your laugh. Twisted, mocking, coming from behind you. You whip around. The thing standing there wears your face, but not your body. Its limbs are longer, bent like hunger. It remembers you, because you let it through. The flute trembles in your hand. You raise it again, this time not to play, this time to shatter. You slam it against a stone. It does not break. The thing steps closer. You scream, but only dust comes out. You wake by the fire. No flute, no wound. Only ash in your mouth, and the sense that something is now inside the camp that was never meant to come in. The old dog stares at you without blinking. The child with the long tooth points and says, "That's not him," and part of you agrees. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you believe you can unopen what's been opened. But here, the door swings both ways, and some things never forget your scent. The first sign is the drum. Not yours, not the hide drum buried under bone charms and stone beads, but something farther away, thinner, made of reed and skin too tight. You hear it just before dawn, when the fog wraps the earth like wet linen. One beat, then another. Not rhythm, not ceremony, just a heartbeat stretched too far, as if the world itself is breathing wrong. You sit up, bones aching. Your dreams had been full of laughter, but not the warm kind. The kind that starts before the mouth opens, that fills the room before anyone speaks. That sounds too human to be an animal, and too hungry to be a man. You remember spinning circles of ash, a girl with soot-black fingers, a fire that burned upside down. You look to the sky. No birds again. The others still sleep, restless. Their faces look unfamiliar now in rest, worn hollow by something they cannot name. You try to stand, but your knees ache like they were walking all night without you. Your hands are covered in ash. No one lit the fire last night. That's what the others say. But there it is, at the center of the camp, crackling, full, and standing tall. Too tall. The flames are blue at the tips, and the smoke doesn't rise at spirals. Around it is a perfect circle of black powdery ash, not like the wood ash of last night's hearth, but finer, grayer, like the remains of something that used to breathe. No one touches it, not even the elders. You are the only one who can. So you step in. The heat doesn't reach you. The fire burns like a memory bright, but distant, casting light that doesn't warm and shadows that move even when you don't. The circle of ash clings to your ankles. A child tries to follow you and vomits before reaching the edge. His mother holds him back. She mouths a word you can't hear, but you know it's your name. You kneel beside the fire, and that's when they arrive. The first dancer appears just beyond the flames. No feet, no face, just a shape of figure cut from smoke and stitched to the night. It moves like it remembers being alive. Twists in motions too smooth, too slow, like underwater memory. Its arms drift up, long and boneless. Another dancer joins, then another. Soon 5, 6, a dozen circling you, not outside the ash ring, but within it. You stare at their legs. Nothing touches the earth. No footprints. No weight. One leans close. Where a face should be is a hollow. Not blackness, not void, just absence. A space where something was scraped out. You feel your heart seize. Your lungs forget their work. But your limbs remain still. You want to run. You cannot move. The fire grows. Not higher, deeper. Its center opens like an eye. The ash circle pulses once, and all the dancers stop. Their heads tilt, every one of them, toward you. And from every hollow face comes a whisper. Return what you borrowed. You don't understand. They lean closer. Return it. You think of the flute, the tree, the thing that followed you back, the face that grinned without blinking. But it's gone. You broke it, buried it, didn't you? You feel something shift inside you. A pressure just behind your ribs, not pain, but weight. Like a second heartbeat. Like something not you curled inside your chest, listening. The dancers wait. You say, I don't have it. They do not move. The flames collapse. The ash flies upward, and they vanish. When the smoke clears, you are alone, but not empty. Something stayed. Something listens now when you speak to no one. Something walks half a step behind your shadow. The others pretend not to see, but one by one, they move their sleeping mats farther from yours. A child leaves food near your tent and runs before you can say thank you. And one morning, the chief gives you a bowl of ochre and says, mark your own bones now, because one day someone will need to find them. And they must know what you were. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you think the dance ends when the fire dies. But here, the fire never dies. It only waits. You follow the river upstream because no one else will. The hunting party returned without meat. They say the tracks vanished. The deer led them to the stones and disappeared. One man whispered, almost in apology, that they felt watched, not by animals, but by the earth itself. Another, quieter still, said something was in the river. Not a fish, not a god, just something. And so they came back empty-handed, empty-eyed, and ashamed. And you, of course, were sent to fix it. You walk for hours through moss-wrapped branches and gullies choked with roots, until you find it, the place where the river should be loud and rushing, but instead stands silent and still. Not frozen, not muddy. Just mute. The water moves, yes, but it makes no sound. No splash against stones, no insects hovering. Even the birds avoid its edge. You crouch by the bank and listen harder, as if silence itself is trying to speak. And then you hear it not outside, but inside. A whisper behind your teeth. A voice like water dripping in a skull. It says, this is not the river's mouth. This is the place where things are swallowed. You pull back. Your fingers are wet. You didn't touch the water. The river did. You turn to leave. But your eyes catch something on the ground, a stone, pale and smooth, lying where no river ever rolled it. It's round and oddly warm. When you pick it up, it pulses once in your palm. Not light, not heat. A pulse, like a second heart. Then it bleeds. A thin red line runs from a crack across the stone's surface and coils down your wrist. You drop it. The blood does not stop. It marks your skin, thick and dark, leaving shaped spirals and eyes and something like a claw. You rub it off. But it doesn't smear. It sinks in. You return to the village at dusk. No one greets you. They've seen your eyes. They've seen your hand. They've seen the new lines drawn on your chest, though you do not recall making them. You try to speak, but your tongue forgets your name. The chief gives you no words, only a mask, made of bone and bark, worn by shamans when spirits walk too near. It's meant to hide you, protect you, blur your shape so that hungry things cannot remember your face. You put it on, and it doesn't come off. You try. At first gently, then with force. You scrape, pull, tear. Your skin moves with it. You scream, and the dogs bark. The children cry. The elders gather in silence. No one stops you, because they know this has happened before, and no one ever removes the mask. Not truly. You sleep that night with it pressing into your cheeks, your breath hot and shallow behind it. You dream of the river and of your own body floating downstream without eyes. And in the morning, the mask is not a thing you wear. It is a thing you are. They ask you to speak to the spirits the next day. You open your mouth, and a second voice answers, not yours, not anyone's. A voice like rushing water without a source, like wind in a cave that doesn't exist. Everyone listens, and no one meets your gaze, because they are no longer sure it's you behind the wood and bone. And neither are you. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you think the mask hides you. But here, the mask remembers, and it wears you. You wake before dawn and know something is watching you. You've grown used to the attention of the spirits, how they crowd the edge of firelight, how their laughter hides in animal calls and wind. But this is different, heavier, closer. It sits behind your shoulder like breath without lungs. It leans against the edge of your bones. You step out of the shelter, still wearing the mask. You no longer remember if you chose to put it on, or if it grew from your face like antlers. The sky above is not dark. It is closed, like a lid, like an eye. Waiting, you tilt your head and realize it blinks. You don't scream. Their fire pits face away from yours now. Even the dogs will not follow your scent. You pass the sleeping forms without a word, though a child stirs and whispers your name. Not the one you were born with, the one they gave you after the deer smiled and the drum began to hum. Bone Walker. Shamans don't scream. Instead, you walk to the edge of the camp, where the others have drawn their own lines in the dirt to keep you out. You do not correct her. At the ritual shelter, the old drum is waiting. But tonight, something grows from its center, teeth. The same one that beat on its own the night the dancers came. Its surface is cracked now, the hide brittle with age and smoke. Small, white, human. You blink. They're gone. You lift the lid. They're back. 27 of them, embedded just beneath the surface, like seeds in rotted fruit. You do not touch them. Instead, you kneel, and for the first time in many nights, you speak aloud. One word. A word your grandmother said should never be formed by a living tongue. A word that can only be spoken once. You hear the world twist around the shape of that word. And from behind the trees, something answers. It curls into the air like smoke from the wrong fire. It doesn't sound like your voice. Like hands in the dark that don't belong to anybody. Like recognition. Slowly, on its own, the teeth rattle in rhythm. It comes out in pieces, whistles, and breath, a crack of the jaw, the shifting of joints that don't belong to you. The sky above shudders. The stars rearrange. One falls or vanishes or wakes. You feel your mouth stretch further than flesh should allow. Not with sound, but with presence. Like heat in a cave where there is no flame. The drum begins to beat again. The air tightens. And suddenly, every fire in the camp goes out except yours. The clan rises in confusion. Voices call. Mothers gather children. The hunters grasp spears that will do nothing. The elders pray with shaking hands. And from across the clearing, they see you. Not walking. Floating. Not high, but enough. Enough to know something has changed. Enough to know you are not just a man anymore. You want to call to them. To reassure. To explain. But when you open your mouth, no words come out. Mask fused to face, mouth open in the shape of the word that cannot be undone. Only that same sound, the one from the river, the one from behind the mask, the one that came before language. They fall silent. The child who named you Bone Walker cries without sound. Her tears run upwards. You touch the ground. Everything is different. Later, they will say the spirits walked among them that night, wearing no skins, casting no shadows. Later, they will bury the drum. And still later, they will paint a figure on the cave wall, your figure floating between the sky and the fire. They will not speak your name, because it is no longer yours. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you think words are tools. But here, words are keys, and some doors should never open. It starts with your voice echoing back to you, not once, not in a canyon or off stone walls, or in the way spirits sometimes mock you from the trees. No, this echo comes in the open, in full daylight, across the clearing where no one stands. It says your name, not the one you were born with, not the one the others whisper now, but a name you haven't heard since you were small enough to fit in your mother's sling. A name that no one should know anymore. You freeze. The wind calls it again, in your tone, with your breath. You look around. No one else hears it, or they pretend not to. You call out once, twice. The villagers turn away. A man clutches his child tighter. The elder woman who once fed you berries as a boy throws crushed charcoal over her shoulder and spits. The fire pit near your tent cracks, although there is no flame. You don't sleep that night, but something does, inside you. And it dreams. In the dream, your ribs creak open like a door, and something climbs out. It's not a spirit, not one of the old ones. It's not made of fur or stone or smoke. It is bones, but not dead ones. These bones are alive. They move like memory, like hunger. It has no eyes, but it watches you. It has no muscles, but it walks. Its shape changes. Sometimes it's a four-legged beast with hooves. Sometimes a bird. Sometimes a man you once watched die in winter, who now smiles with too many teeth. It speaks in your voice, but not the voice you have now. The voice from before the flute, before the fire, before the mask. You wake before dawn, standing in the grave pit behind the camp. Your feet are muddy. The tool stone scrapers, bone picks, are laid neatly at your side. Someone dug the grave. Someone measured it precisely to your body's shape. You are alone. And yet, not. You feel it behind you. Not touching, not breathing, just waiting. You don't turn around. You don't need to. You know it's the thing that crawled out of you in the dream. You know it's not finished. You know it built this grave because it believes you are no longer using your body properly, because it wants to wear you like a cloak, because you let it in. You fill the grave back in by hand. You tell no one, but all day people stare at your muddy fingers. No one asks where you were. They have begun to forget how to say your name. The mask creaks when you move. Sometimes you hear it breathe. You think of fire, of carving the bones, of red ochre and black soot, and the whisper comes again. Only this time, not from the wind, from inside your mouth. I'm still here. You try to scream, but it comes out as laughter, not yours. That night, you burn your old things, the drum, the beads, the carved teeth you once wore as a necklace. The smoke rises and forms shapes you do not name. The sky does not blink anymore. It just watches. And in the morning, someone finds a track in the snow that no animal makes. Just long, bony toes. And a second set bare feet. Yours. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you think you carry the spirits. But here, they carry you. And some won't let go. There's a new hill near the camp. It rose overnight. No one saw it happen, but everyone saw it after. Smooth and round, no trees on top, no animal trails. Too perfect. The earth there is dry, though it rained the night before. Children say it hums when they press their ears to it. The elders won't speak of it. The hunters refuse to walk past. But you, of course, must go. That's the burden of the shaman, to walk where others avert their eyes, to listen when the earth speaks, even if it lies. You climb the hill at dawn, barefoot, wrapped in ash and red ochre. You carry no staff, no mask, just the weight of every dream that's crawled into your skull and nested there. At the top, you wait. The wind is silent, the sky is low. And then you hear it from beneath your feet. A voice, not one, but many. Whispers layered over whispers, speaking in the tongues of birds, of fire, of bone. And then, woven through them all, your own voice broken, echoed, aged. It says, lie down. You obey. The soil is cold. It smells of old smoke and salt and blood. As you press your back to the earth, the sky shifts. The clouds spiral. A shape moves beneath the hills slow and heavy, like a root learning to breathe. You close your eyes and see everything. You see the first shaman alone, drawing circles in the sand with a severed finger. You see the 1,000 rites passed down in silence, etched into stone no one reads. You see the spirits before they were named, before they took form, just hunger and watching. You see yourself split standing in two places, watching from above and below. And then you hear the last rite, the one no one teaches. The one whispered once, then buried beneath ash and fear. It is not a prayer. It is not a spell. It is a choice, to stay or to leave. Not your body, your place. The spirits do not want guides who run. They want roots. Things that do not move. Things that listen. Things that remember. You understand now why the old shaman walked into the river. Why the drummers lost their tongues. Why the wind took your name. You understand why you dug the grave. And why no one stopped you. When you open your eyes, the sky is gone. Just stone above you. The hill closed. You are inside. You do not panic. You do not scream. Instead, you whisper back, I remember. And that is enough. In the camp, someone wakes from a nightmare. They look to the woods. The fire is cold. They feel your absence, but no one speaks of it. The hill is gone again. The children forget your face, but the wind still carries your voice. And sometimes, when the night is long and the drums do not answer, the elders listen for it, and it says, still here. You wouldn't last a day as a Stone Age shaman, because you think death is the end of your story. But here, it's where the work begins, and the last rite is the one you do alone.